Buyer Hotspot. Today's episode is From Honeydew to Sold, the power duel behind every successful home sale. What if selling your home didn't have to be stressful or expensive? What if you had a dream team that could fix all the problems before they cost you thousands in inspections? Today, I'm talking with my friend Virginia, who's part of a powerhouse duo, a realtor and her handyman husband, who have built a business helping homeowners get their properties market ready and sold fast. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so that you don't miss more episodes that help you buy or sell smart. I'm Jennifer Fanning with Cross Country Mortgage, helping people buy, sell, and finance home with confidence. And remember, don't get ducked by another lender. Today, I'm joined by Virginia Hammonds, a Florida real estate expert who works alongside her husband, who brings his handyman expertise to every listing. Together, they've created a unique system that helps sellers get top dollar without breaking the bank. Virginia, before we get too far into the show, how can people reach out to you?
Hey everybody, it's Virginia Hammonds with Realty Exchange. You can call or text me at 404-940-5181. Or if you're on social media, on Facebook, Virginia Hammond Realtor. Super easy to find. Robbie, his name is Robbie Hammonds. His phone number is 678-780-9562. The company's name is Assimilated Technology Services. And if you have questions, you can always email him at atsrobbieH@gmail.com.
Awesome. I appreciate that you knew all your stuff. Thank you so very much. So let's talk about how your dream team works your magic and what every seller should know before putting their home on the market. So how did you come up with this idea to combine real estate and handyman services? How did that happen?
I obtained my real estate license about 2 years ago, and jumping into it, I noticed the same common denominator. You list a house, you get a home inspection report, and there's anywhere from 10 to 30 items that they ask you to fix. With Robbie's background in construction, we thought that it would be perfect for us to essentially do a pre-listing consultation with the seller and ask them or inform them exactly of the top items that come up on the inspection report and kind of fix that before it becomes an issue.
That's super smart because you're right. I see reports all the time. I tell people not to send them to me, but they do. Because as a lender, I don't want to know what's wrong. But yeah, they send those reports, and you're right. Every house has 30 things. And so what a smart idea to get out in front of that. So what was your very first project like, and how did it go? I'm super curious because I don't know if I could work with my husband.
We work well together, actually. Gosh, I guess the first one, honestly, was a seller here in Palm Coast in the B section. She was older, and we knew that the house needed to be painted, interior, exterior. The flooring was in pretty good shape, but there was drywall mess everywhere. She had teenage sons, so holes all over the place. And unfortunately, buyers do judge a book by its cover. So when you first walk in and you notice holes everywhere, they're going to judge it and think that this homeowner didn't take good care of this property. Robbie came in, we spoke to her, kind of found out her budget, and we were able to get this home absolutely beautiful and market ready to put on the market.
That's awesome. And so what types of repairs or updates make the biggest difference when people are selling homes? Because obviously there's lots of different things that could be done. So what makes the biggest difference that you've seen?
To be honest, one of the biggest is painting. It is one of the cheapest and inexpensive updates you can do to a home. So if your home's already gray, you're not going to have to paint it white. But I've seen time and time again where people have blood red painting and it's unique to their style, and buyers kind of shy away from that. So you could spend $70 at Sherwin-Williams and buy a neutral color. And guess what? You're going to open that array to so many more buyers. And not only that, I have worked with people who have lived in their house for 30 years. And when you remove a bed, you would be amazed that paint used to be white. So dingy and dirty, you just want to give it a clean, fresh coat. And if they paint it, that's fine. But I think walking and seeing a clean space, you're going to think that the homeowner took better care of that property throughout the lifetime of it.
I agree. And it's kind of funny how just perception of paint makes such a big difference. So the house that I'm currently in that we bought in Palm Coast, we were able to negotiate it down quite a bit. And the reason why is because it did have blood red walls.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
And no one was looking at this house. Matter of fact, my husband and I, we have always bought ugly houses and fixed them up. Like we've done like 12 of them. And so we always look for the ugly house in the good neighborhood. But I talk to buyers all the time, especially first time home buyers. I'm like, look for the ugly house, put some sweat equity into it. But nowadays, a lot of buyers are not interested in doing that. And I don't know if it's a lack of skills on their part where they would have to hire people or whatever the story is, but you're right. A lot of people want to walk in and feel like a home is fresh and well taken care of. So, next question. How do you help sellers decide what's worth fixing before you list? So, you go in, your husband is obviously kind of doing an inspection himself, a pre listing inspection, and he finds all kinds of things that are wrong. So, how do you help the seller determine like what they should fix?
So when you go in to do a home inspection report, once you purchase the home, they look at the main components. So roof, AC, electrical, and plumbing. So we go and we notice that you have a leaky faucet, or, the last house that we had helped sell, there was a gigantic hole in the shower floor. Obviously, that's not going to pass on the inspection. And if I
No,
saw
that's
it
a
as a buyer,
problem.
I'd probably absolutely. And you're like, okay, well, what other problems are there? So anything that's super noticeable that is a safety hazard, for sure. And sometimes it's as easy as, oh, there's no outlet covers on this home, or there's no baseboards on here. People don't realize, depending on what kind of financing you're obtaining, some of them are more strict and you have to have these. So a home could essentially not be VA financeable just because there is, open flooring or anything like that. So just
Correct.
making sure you walk in and you can get financed whatever way you want, and someone's not gonna talk you down. So say you have your flooring, for instance, and there is ripples in it. Okay, well, we can replace that flooring for, say, $1,000. If a buyer walks in, they're gonna think, "Oh my gosh, I gotta repay, or I have to pay for this whole entire house to get refloored." I'm gonna knock $15,000 off of the asking price. So by you initially putting $1,000 investment, you've really just gained or saved 15,000 when it comes to negotiations.
I
Whatever
agree.
we think is gonna save you the most money in the long run is what we're gonna hit at first.
I love that. So I'm assuming you guys have a good understanding of what the cost would be if somebody were were selling a house and say they did have a flooring issue like you just described. You guys have a good understanding of what it would cost if the new buyers were to go get a quote from Lowe's or something to come and do a whole new house full of flooring. Like you said, that quote could be 15,000 or more, whereas you guys could come in, make good repairs and save them lots of money. That's brilliant, actually.
Absolutely.
Especially in today's market in Palm Coast, I feel like we have so much new construction here that every buyer is comparing that house that was built 10 years ago or older to that new construction house. And so to sell here with an older home, if you really want your price, it has to be as appealing as possible. Do you ever come across a house that surprises you with how much value a few simple updates can add?
Yes, actually. So one of the last ones we worked on was actually 27 Rye-Crest here in Palm Coast. We walked in and the home itself was decent, but this is the one that I told you when you walked in, the shower had a huge hole in it in the master. And so we're like, oh my gosh. So we came in, Robbie ended up painting the entire exterior of the home because it was a yellowish faded. So we ended up doing a beautiful blue. We painted the exterior, interior, changed out some faucets. We listed it and it sold in 10 days for asking. Where in this market we're sitting in, we're seeing 90 days before you even get an offer on it. So by doing those few items, not only did it sell for asking, but it sold within 10 days versus it waiting 3 months before an offer comes. And then by that point, you're already dropping the price, probably, anywhere from ten to $30,000.
I agree. I have a client that's looking in Palm Coast right now, and she sent me a property that her and her husband wanted to put an offer on. And I looked, and that property has been on the market for a year, literally a year. And then I looked at the history of it, and they started out 100,000 higher. And then I realized that it needs a new roof. And
Oh my goodness.
I thought, why would you just like you've sat on the market for an entire year? Why would you not just do a roof? Because now they're willing to do a roof. I'm like, but you sat on the market for a year. Had you have done the roof before, you might have gotten more money for the house than you're going to get today, a year later. So that was very interesting to me. because we see that all the time. What are the
Absolutely.
most common issues that scare buyers away? And then how do you fix them?
I'd say right now in today's market, most common would be the age of a roof, the age of an AC. So we personally are not a contractor, but I do work with roofing contractors where once you get a house under contract, you can actually have them replace the roof before closing and it essentially gets escrowed and at closing that money goes to the roofing company. So not many people know, hey, I love this house but it has an older roof. The seller doesn't have $20,000. I personally don't want to pay 20,000. You can negotiate into the deal of where the seller essentially will pay for the roof out of the net proceeds. So that's the biggest one in Florida because insurance is getting more expensive and more difficult. You pay for a 30-year roof, and really at year 15, insurance companies start giving you a hard time.
They sure do. That is 100%. And I see it on the insurance costs. As I tell people all the time when I'm running numbers for them, it depends on the roof as to what I think insurance will cost you on this home. If it has a new roof, you could possibly get away with $125 to $150 a month in your payment for insurance. If that roof is older, you could be looking at 300, 350, depending on the construction of the house, etc. Does make a big difference, especially when you're talking affordability. And I do a lot of lending in South Florida as well. And South Florida, those numbers for insurance are crazy high compared to here. So,
I
yeah.
can't even imagine.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So, how do you approach homes that have been sitting on the market too long? So, say somebody had been on the market for, say, 6 months and their current realtor hasn't been able to get it sold, and they reach out to you. Would you go through the exact same process that you would with somebody that hadn't been on the market for 6 months? What would you do for that person?
I actually just had this happen this month. Perfect time. Essentially, we go in and kind of evaluate why is your house not selling versus the other comps in the area. Is number one. Are you priced too high? Is there something majorly wrong with it? And then kind of go to square one. This particular individual didn't want to do any updates. She didn't want to fix anything. So I
Yes.
personally hired somebody to come in and kind of help clean up the place, help clean up the landscaping in the front. I noticed some electrical issues, so I had my electrician come in and kind of fix those prior to it. We got an offer in 14 days. And it's closed now. This home was on the market for 5 months with another realtor. She tried to sell it by herself as a for sale by owner. Finally, we talked. She decided to go ahead and go with it, and we got an offer in 14 days. So, who you
Wow,
work
it
with matters.
does. It 100% does matter. And all the sellers out there, it matters how you present your house. It really does matter how people see it when they drive up. We would like to think that, nobody is judging a book by its cover, but that's just not true when it comes to real estate, is they are 100% judging it by its cover. So can you
Absolutely. We're in a buyer's market right now. So, we have over 1,000 homes for sale. Plus, we have new construction and they have beautiful landscaping. So, they walk up and that first appearance and that first initial my goodness is everything. And it's hard to say, like, especially when it's your home, like, oh, well, they don't like it. Well, unfortunately, they have a lot of inventory to choose from. So presentation is key, especially because most people essentially buy their homes online. I think it's 92% of people look online before they start their home search. So if your photos aren't absolutely perfect or, you can see noticeable issues in the photos, your chances of selling that home has just came down drastically.
I agree. Matter of fact, that's one of the first questions I ask buyers when I'm interviewing them to get pre-approved for a loan is I ask them, so, okay, I know you've been cruising around on the internet. What price range have you been looking at just so that I kind of have an idea as to where to start with the numbers. And I would say 98% of the people say, yeah, I've been cruising around the internet and this is what I've been looking. Very rarely do I get someone that says, oh no, you're my first stop. 10 years ago, that's what people said. But in today's market, that is definitely, not what people say. So, how do you budget for updates so that sellers don't overspend before selling? Because I know I have done that before in a property that my husband and I purchased. We loved the house. We thought it was kind of a forever home for us. So we we're stupid and we put really high end, appliances because we thought we were living there forever. And then some gangs decided to, this is from Washington State, some gangs decided to move into the area and they shot through my neighbor's house in
My
the middle of the
goodness.
night. And so at that point, we were like, yeah, maybe this is not a forever home. So how do you help the sellers then to really have a good idea of this is how much you owe on the house. These are the repairs that need to be done. How do you help keep everything manageable to where they still walk away with money to go to the next house or whatever they're doing? How do you approach that?
One of the first things I do after we run comps is do a seller's net sheet. So essentially, I take what they own the property, what the fees are of selling the property, and what their net proceeds are. So that's number one. Okay, you're going to walk away with $100,000.
Okay.
Usually, when I do those figures, though, it's factoring all those items that are finished. They say that the things that bring the most value is kitchens and bathrooms. Please do not remodel your kitchen, your bathroom before you sell it. You are
Yeah.
not going to see that. So really, I just say, hey, what do you want to see out of this? We don't ever have to do repairs. If you want to sell your house as is with the holes in the floor, that's fine. But just know we're going to be about $30,000 under from where you could be. So it's just sitting down with them, and we can essentially sometimes float the bill. We always like to get a deposit for the materials at least, but more times than not, we do like to get paid up front for it. So it's really just talking to the seller and saying, "Hey, do you have $3,000 to update X, Y, and Z?" And more times than not, they are more than willing to do that because hey, your 3,000 investment is giving you an extra 20,000.
Yes, agreed. And when you look at the numbers, it just makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
If you can endure a little bit of pain of your house being under construction, with painting or whatever, it definitely makes it worth it in the long run. What's your advice to homeowners who are overwhelmed and just don't know where to start? I see this a lot, actually.
Just call us. That's all you have to do. Just call us. Let us know, hey, I'm thinking about selling our house. We don't know what we need to do. If you need someone to come in and help you declutter, guess what? I have a person for that. If you need someone to come in and help you do a deep clean, I have a person for that. Not only are we, a handyman and a realtor, I have a plethora of resources. Pretty much anything that you may need done, I probably have a reputable individual for you to do that. So just take a deep breath. Real estate can be stressful, but with the right team on your hands, it can be a fun journey.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you have your repertoire of people that like, and trust, that you've seen their work, that they've done right by past clients. That's huge because I know as a homeowner, and I moved to Palm Coast, a year and a half ago. I don't trust anybody to come in my house and do things because Florida is notorious for cruddy contractors. So that is huge that you have those resources for your clients. So if you're enjoying this conversation and learning something new about prepping your home to sell, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe for this episode. It really helps me to be able to reach more people who could use this kind of information. So let's move on and talk about what it's like working with the husband. So, how do you balance this home work life? Because you're obviously like you're together a lot.
We are. So what's helpful is we have a helper actually. So on bigger jobs, I like to help him when I can. So I don't mind painting. So I'll physically go and I'll help him paint. Sometimes we'll have his helper go and help do that. But work life home balance, I love my husband actually, and he's the coolest person ever. He's my best friend. So I think having that is just so much more beneficial to us because we don't have that rocky relationship outside of work. Sometimes I want to smack him, absolutely. But at the end of the day, when the client sees we got it. No, I'm just kidding. But we balance it very well. I think it's cool. It's so cool having a partner that can help do these things and help these people because, like you said before, in Florida, it's notorious that there are unskilled laborers or contractors who essentially get a deposit and they don't ever come back. I know we're going to be here and I know we're going to get the job done correctly. So that is the most important thing for both of us. We're so customer service focused that we just want the customer to be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's important because I think that customer service is something that has really gotten lost in the digital age, even my doctor's office, I go into the doctor's office and it's an iPad with a virtual person that you talk to, and I know that that's more cost effective for the doctor's office, which I guess is great because they're not paying a real person wages, but it loses that customer service, that feeling like you're important to somebody. And so I'm really happy to see that that is a priority for you and your husband in your business, is that people first, because that's exactly how I run my business, is people first. I'm not look to do 20 or 30 loans a month. I'm looking to do 3 or 4 loans a month. So then my 3 or 4 people, I tell them, you're going to be my best friends for the
Absolutely.
time that we're working together, because I'm going to pay attention to you. We're going to be talking. I'm not just going to leave you out in the never, never to kind of feel like you don't know what's going on. So I'm super happy that you guys have that exact same approach. So how do you combine your skills with real estate and his skills with construction to make that selling process smoother for clients? Like, so when you're coming in, do you introduce yourself like as a package? How do you normally handle that?
So no, not necessarily. I'll go on like a pre-listing appointment and talk to them, and then once I notice, or if the customer's like, "Hey, I want to get it painted, so just look past that," or "I want to do this, so just look past that." Well, after two or three, I'm like, "Well, hey, just so you know, we also own a remodeling handyman company. My husband can come in here and help you," and like a big like relief goes over them, like, "Oh my gosh, you have somebody that can help me."
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I would feel the exact same way. Like, because you just don't know. Most people don't know contractors, handymen, people to do things. So I think that that's pretty awesome. So what do clients say after they see the transformation of their homes? What's the typical response?
We decided we don't want to sell our home anymore. And I'm like, well, hold up a second.
Have you
They're just
really
so
let that
excited.
happen?
It's happened to us once actually, where we went in and pretty much redid everything. And she's like, I decided that we're going to stay. So that was interesting. But you know what? Whatever. But a lot of people, they're just so thrilled, and not only that, but that's their livelihood. They're excited to get their home on the market now. Like, they're so proud of it. Before, they're like, I don't want people to see the scuffs on the wall or
I
the
can't.
broken shower. Now they're like, I can't wait to get the photos done. Hey, let me know when you get the photos done. Please send them to me. They are so thrilled and excited, and it makes me
Good.
happy too. I am such
Of
a for
course.
my client person. I love building those personal relationships just like you.
Yeah.
Over communicate. And so it's just cool to be able to show them the end of it, the end result.
I agree. There's been quite a few times where my husband and I have lived in the house for a few years and then decided to sell it. And then we all have always done what you and your husband do, because my husband can literally build anything. And so
Yeah.
then we go through the house before we list it and we're like, oh, we need to paint this. We need to, electrical socket there. We need, all the little things. And then I'm like, why did we not do this for ourselves? Why do we do these things before we're getting ready to sell the house? I'm like, that is so stupid. So, but
We've done it too.
yeah,
And we ended up putting the house on the market. And then after a month, we're like, you know what? We've done all this work. So we're just going to stay in it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love how you two are making selling a home way less stressful and more profitable, significantly more profitable for your clients. And I have to say, the fact that you're selling homes in 14 days, 30 days in this current market that we have in Palm Coast, that's amazing. That means that you are doing a true market analysis, that you really know the industry here and what's going on, and that you have a real pulse on what buyer in Palm Coast are looking for. So I just want to say, I think that's amazing. I work with a lot of realtors, talk to a lot of realtors. I look at a lot of realtors listings that have been hanging out for a long time, and it makes me feel bad for them, because they're hanging out for a long time. They've spent this money up front and then the homes don't get sold. And part of it is because sellers, I think for a while had a hard time adjusting to the new market. And so,
Absolutely.
realtors had a hard time convincing sellers where they really needed to be, because let's face it, in 2021, 2022, whatever your neighbor's house sold for, you could sell for 10,000 more and get it pretty quickly. So it took sellers, I think, a while, to be able to adjust to that. So, for anyone thinking about selling, remember, presentation and preparation can make or break your sale. Get the right team in place, and you're going to see the difference. So, Virginia, once again, give us your contact information because I think your phone is going to be ringing a lot after this.
Absolutely. My phone number is 404-940-5181, and you can reach Robbie at 678-780-9562.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for joining the Home Buyer Hotspot. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because it helps me get this information out to more people. So I'm Jennifer Fanning. I'm your biggest fan, and I work with Cross Country Mortgage. And you can contact me 561-295-2005. I'm here for all of your lending needs. Well, thank you very much, Virginia, for joining me, and I can't wait to see you out and about.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.